Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, we do have a big fight tonight, Teofimo Lopez versus Jermaine Ortiz, and I am actually excited about the fight. Curious to see what Teofimo Lopez looks like when he gets back into the ring. And I'm always excited about fights, man, with some of the bigger names in the sport getting into the ring and getting the opportunity to showcase their skills. We saw the weigh-in yesterday. Both men look ready. Jermaine Ortiz looked focused, ready. Teofimo is looking like Teofimo. And we want to get together and break it down, man, and give our predictions. Now, Teofimo Lopez coming off of a win against Josh Taylor looked amazing. I mean, simply amazing. Some people have thought that maybe Josh Taylor wasn't really up to snuff as he was in the past. We've also seen Regis Prograis get taken apart by Devin Haney, and you have to wonder if it's really just those 135 pounders were just that good, or the 140 pounders weren't as good as we thought. Teo looked, like I said, amazing in his fight against Josh Taylor. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think it's more of the former versus the latter. I just think those guys at 35 were, the real deal. They were called the Four Kings for a reason, and I think they're proving that today. Jamaine Ortiz, tough opponent, and I don't know, man. I got Teo in the fight. We saw Jermaine Ortiz in the ring versus Lomachenko. He looked good. Don't get me wrong. I think, Jason, you actually had him beating Lomachenko, correct?
I had him winning 7-5 in a close fight.
Yeah, so you had him beating Lomachenko. He looked good in the fight, but personally, I just think Teo is going to be too much for him. I think, the Teo that we saw against Josh Taylor is the real Teo. I think the Teo that we saw against Sandor Martin is not the real Teo. Just had a bad night. And, he had a bad night against Kambosos as well. His father mentioned that they've changed their style, essentially. He had him doing some things that really wasn't, let's call it playing to the strengths of Teofimo Lopez. And so now they're back to that. And I expect a really solid performance from Teofimo Lopez tonight in a win. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the matchup. Card actually has a few decent fights on it as well. Mm-hmm. But Jermaine Ortiz, he's never fought at 140 before. This is only his second time fighting a 12-round fight. Mm-hmm. So when he fought Loma in 2022, he died. He died. He died out later in that fight. He just wasn't conditioned for a 12-round fight. He had only fought 10-round fights. Loma was coming off an injury or whatnot and some time off, as well as due to fighting for his country, for Ukraine. But Jermaine, he the first 5-7 rounds, he was on him. After that, he gassed out. So I anticipate seeing similar thing for Jermaine, because he's only fought one fight since then. He fought last year, September 15, 2023. That was a 10-round fight, and he wasn't even at 140. That was at 137.5 catch weight. So him moving up to fight Teo, I know they have history before where they fought in the amateurs back in, I think, 2015. Teo won, supposedly in a close decision, but that's damn near 10 years ago, so that doesn't hold anything, except for Teo got a win in the amateurs. Teo's power, if Teo continues to look like he did against Josh Taylor, he's going to take Jermaine out of there, because Jermaine is there to be hit at times. And with him moving up in weight and on his second 12-round fight, that's a lot for him. I know he has extra energy, he wants to avenge that loss. It's hard to go against Teo after the way Teo looked against Josh Taylor. Now, to your point, Josh Taylor, maybe had been at weight for too long. He just outclassed Josh Taylor. To me, it didn't matter about the weight. Anything, maybe the weight helped Josh a little bit weaker, but Teo was just on another level than Josh all the way around. He didn't look good at all, and now he's been struggling to figure out what he's going to do next. Where Josh Taylor probably going to fight Catterall, I believe, maybe at 147, whatever, but. Teo just looked too good to me. To your point, the one against Sandor Martin, he had a lot of stuff going on outside of the ring. He definitely didn't like himself inside the ring. I don't know, one horrible performance with Sandor Martin, real bad performance against Kambosos, and then an outstanding performance against Josh Taylor. I'm trying not to get too high, trying not to get too low. But him versus Jermaine Ortiz, I think he's going to take Jermaine Ortiz out. I think Jermaine Ortiz will be a live dog for the first 3 or 4 rounds. I think he'll end up fading. He may get stopped by a TKO or just get a unanimous decision, probably like an 8-4, 9-3 type win for Teo.
Yeah. I can see something similar in regards to Teo versus Jermaine Ortiz. I think Teo's going to be too much for him. I just think he's the overall better fighter, and he's going to come out victorious in the fight. I don't think it'll be a knockout though. I think it's going to go the distance. Let's move on to Keyshawn Davis quickly. He's in a fight with Jose Pedraza. I think that's a really good litmus test for Keyshawn Davis. Pedraza, who he's bringing down in weight, a guy that's I don't know, man, a bit long in the tooth at this point, right, Jay? How old is Pedraza now? Do you remember? You know how old he is?
I believe he's 35.
Yeah. So good litmus test, though, for a young fighter moving up. Keyshawn didn't necessarily look all that good in his last fight. He talked about during one of his pressers, the weed and how it affected him prior to the fight. So it's interesting that he's changed his stance on the marijuana. But my expectation is that Keyshawn is going to be victorious in this fight. Of course, like I said, Pedraza is a veteran. Can he present some challenges for Keyshawn Davis? Absolutely. But I do believe that this is a great litmus test for him. And we'll see if Keyshawn Davis is exactly where he said he is. And some of the people that support him say he is, which is like, I've heard someone actually say that he's like a generational level talent, which I totally disagree with. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that, Jay? What's your thoughts on the fight?
Need some time on that. I mean, I agree with you as far as, this is a good litmus test for Keyshawn. I don't like the fact that Jose Pedraza is coming off of 2 losses and a draw. He hasn't won in a while. He hasn't fought at 135 since like 2019. So for being older, we all know as you get older, it is harder to lose that weight. Even if you're a top athlete like Pedraza is, So we'll see. We'll see if he still has hunger. Yeah, but it's a good name for Keyshawn to have on his resume, and Pedraza is a slick fighter still. He's still smart out there, despite his advanced age. He's actually 34 years old, not 35. But I got Keyshawn in this. I did like the fact the way Keyshawn was talking this week here in the pressers and the way he's looked.
I did too.
This Keyshawn looks really focused. This Keyshawn here looks like he's really the businessman. He's not. He said himself he had to mature and everything. He talked about his issues with his tummy hurting before, about eating some spaghetti, and he had to figure out what was bothering him and everything. And it was actually said like the weed was impacting him, so he cut that out. He seems very mature now. I can respect that. I like the way he's moving on here. I think he'll handle business. He might even stop Pedraza. Pedraza only been stopped once, that was by Tank. He gave Loma a really good fight some years back, although Loma did almost get him up out of there late in that fight. But I think this is a good test for Keyshawn. We'll see how this overall card does, being on a Thursday night as well. We know a Super Bowl weekend coming up. They're trying to tap into that crowd that's in Vegas as well. But we'll see if it does some crossover field. I hope for the card and for boxing, I hope it is successful in that regard. There, they also have a young man named Abdullah Mason fighting on the card. He's a good young talent. I believe he's like 19, 11-0. 9 knockouts, no losses. He has some power. Nice little zip. So I'm going to be interested to see him in the undercard as well. But I definitely have Keyshawn beating Pedraza.
Yep. So you guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to the fights tonight. What are your predictions? We're interested in knowing. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are out.